Hey Mukul, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hi Divyansh, how are you?
Good, good. How are you? How are you?
I'm great.
So Mukul, I'm really excited to have you here because you're doing something very exciting in the metaverse space, in the Web3 space through Metashop, which is essentially creating 3D assets out of the real world, scenarios that we have. And that
Yeah.
is pretty important because I read somewhere that we are just diving straight into the metaverse world and we are skipping this very crucial step of 3D modeling, right? And that's where I
Yes.
think you are trying to come in and pitch your services to folks who are actually building the metaverse. So
Yeah.
on that note, Mukul, I would hand it over to you to give a brief intro about you and what you're doing, and then we'll move on to the questions.
Sure. So I'm the co-founder of Metashop. At Metashop, we are building a mobile application that lets anyone convert real-life objects to 3D using just videos of it. So videos can be taken with a phone or a DSLR or a drone or anything. And the objects can range from a small jewelry piece to an entire mountain. That's the scale of it. So it can be anywhere from a very small object to a large object, depending on the use case. So that's the gist of it. And the end product of that is a 3D model, which
Hmm.
can be exported, which can be linked to websites, or which can be added to a metaverse. So that's
Got it.
the basic part of it.
So Mukul, yeah, tell me why did you choose metaverse? Is going to be a later question. Why is Web3 important? As in, what is it about Web3 that is important for folks who are even listening to that Web3 is going to boom in the near future? Why is it important?
So like recently, it's been everything is being transitioning to decentralization. Basically, it is the notion that everything is stored at one place, which should not be done like that. Storing all the data in a central server and moving it from a central server to a distributed system that is spread across the web. That's the basic gist of it. And it brings along with it the power to everyone who is being involved in it, rather than keeping it with just one company. So
Hmm.
here is where the DAOs come in.
Okay.
So people can pitch in their ideas, they can be a part of it, they can be a part of development in the future. So that's the overall idea of decentralization.
Right. So I think apart from just decentralizing, you own your own data. That will be another thing which earlier was used
Yeah.
to was owned by these big corporates like Google and Facebook,
Yeah.
which is still there. It's going to be there, but yeah, through the flavor of Web3, we'll be able to own our own data, and probably, as you mentioned, DAOs, right, which is decentralized autonomous organizations.
Yeah.
It's more like a decentralized company where we have a lot of folks who are pitching and coming together. Though the concept is still evolving, it looks very promising
Hmm.
because uh, through DAOs, everybody can be a contributor to that ecosystem, right?
Exactly. Yes. That's
And
the like main,
yeah.
that's the main idea of it. That's why
Hmm.
it is so powerful.
Yeah. And in this whole conversation of Web3, where does a metaverse fit in? What is the metaverse and where does it fit in this whole Web3 scenario?
Okay, so metaverse is basically a virtual version of the real world. You can say it like that. And there are metaverses which are not based on Web3. There are metaverses which are based on Web3. There are two different kinds of metaverses. It is
Okay.
not that every metaverse is based on Web3. There
Hmm.
are people with decentralized metaverses like Decentraland. Those are basically crypto based. And there
Yeah.
are centralized metaverses as well. Ones like Nvidia is building. Nvidia is
Hmm.
building a metaverse which they are naming Omniverse.
Okay.
So it is an industrial metaverse in which they are building virtual clones of real life machines, real life factories. So people can
Oh,
actually build virtual factories in it. So it is centralized. That's the difference. And Decentraland is decentralized.
correct.
And like it is mainly the Nvidia's version is mainly aimed for industrial practices. And there is another one that Tesla is building. Tesla is building a 3D version of the routes that are being traveled by Tesla's vehicles.
Got it.
Then Google is doing with Waymo. So
Hmm.
these are different kinds of metaverses that are there, and the use cases vary a lot. And the thing is, the doing everything virtually reduces the cost by so much in everything in the industrial practices that it becomes totally logical to do it.
Hmm.
That's the main reason why these metaverses are being popped up very recently. And in these metaverses, the main thing is the 3D asset that is over there. And building a 3D asset is very difficult right now for a normal person. So we'll come to that as we go.
Yeah. So from what I understand that you just said that metaverse is essentially a virtual world, right? It can be a mix of virtual and real as well, as we see in augmented reality, which is coming up, and VR, which is virtual reality. And metaverses existed even before Web3 was born, right?
Yes.
Just mentioned some scenarios over here. And apart from that, as I can experience, I recall the games I used to play, like GTA, Vice City, and all that. That was a metaverse in itself.
Yeah, it is essentially a metaverse. Yeah.
Exactly. You have your own car. You buy, and stealing is another thing. But yeah, you can buy your own weapons and stuff like that. It was a different. It was a centralized metaverse only. You can buy your own clothes and stuff like that. That happens on PUBG and other games. And when you add a flavor of crypto and blockchain and decentralization to this whole virtual world, it becomes a metaverse in the Web3 world, right? So that is what you are trying to say. So that is the interesting bit I just wanted to understand. And why is it important, so I'll just reframe it in a way. Will the physical spaces, right, that we have, say our offices and homes, be replaced by the metaverse, or will it be complemented by the metaverse? What are your thoughts on that?
So in some cases, they will be replaced. In some cases, they will be complemented. Now, in case of workplaces, it is more like they will be complemented by the metaverse, because not everything can be done remotely. So some physical aspect is there of working in a physical space. But in cases like research and development, where a lot of research and development is done on equipments which are very costly, in that area, it makes sense to virtualize everything, because we can build digital clones of the machines that we are using, and we can perform experiments on that. So metaverse can replace those areas totally. And in normal working spaces, it will complement the process that we are following right now, like working in a physical space. So that's my idea basically about it.
So I can recall that I had this call with a guy from the UK who is building a metaverse, right? It's called VR Park. And when I was experiencing that metaverse, it felt like a game, right? And I was wondering that this whole experience is completely supplementary or complementary to the real world experiences we have, and it just cannot 100% replace everything. For example, he showed me an office space where he entered with his avatar, right? And we were going through the rooms and the meeting rooms and the auditoriums. It felt kind of like a little bit useless, because it was because I can't fathom or understand the fact that why wouldn't we be there in a physical space and play a game like that and just experience and talk to folks. But there's a lot of power to that as well, because he showed me certain scenarios, for example, my avatar is there in the virtual world. I'm there in my room and I've locked it. I can't see what is happening inside. Nobody can enter it, stuff like that. So some scenarios look very promising, but overall it looked very complementary. Yeah. So I think a lot of work still needs to be done to really bring it forward.
So we are actually working with another Indian startup who are building their own metaverse, and it is an educational metaverse. And in it, we are actually converting India's monuments to 3D using Metashop. So that's another use case where we can probably replace the real with the virtual for people who live actually very far from those monuments, like people who live in very far away countries who probably won't visit India ever. So for those, that's the nearest experience that they can have, using a VR headset and looking at those monuments inside out.
Yeah.
So it depends person to person and their like what they wanna do.
That's an interesting scenario, because for education and for travel, this scenario is already there, right? And even for entertainment, right? Roller coasters, paragliding and stuff like that. If you really want to experience them beforehand, that is, I'm talking from a B2C perspective. If you go into B2B, there are a lot more scenarios that you just mentioned, right?
Yes.
Simulations of machines, right? Simulations of factories, right, where people can come in and train, right? There's other scenarios. And the most important aspect over there, as we don't realize, is the 3D models which are present inside the metaverse, right? So how do you create those 3D models? What is the tech behind those models? I just wanted to understand.
Okay, so I'll explain how the models are being built currently.
Yeah.
So currently people take photos of the model, and a 3D artist usually traces the model by looking at those photos. And that's how every 3D artist works usually. They design it in their softwares. That can be Blender, Unity, or anything. So that's the current process. And basically it is very lengthy process. It takes a lot of time, and it is not accessible to a lot of businesses because of the steps involved in it. So what we do, we just take a video of the product, and the photos are then stitched together. There is ray tracing involved in it. So the ray tracing is done on the photos, and then a 3D point cloud is generated of the product or anything that is there. So that's the basic idea behind Metashop. You just have to take a video, and the video itself is converted into a point cloud, which then the person can use anywhere he wants.
Okay.
So if you are an e-commerce store, basically what we are targeting right now, we are targeting e-commerce stores first of all. So any e-commerce store can convert all of their products to virtual products and then upload it on their website just by copying a link from the Metashop app. Like you probably must have seen with YouTube videos. You copy the YouTube video link, paste it somewhere, and it gets embedded in your website.
Yeah.
So that's easy. That's how easy it is. And like essentially the process that should take 6 months right now is completed within a day.
Wow.
That's the difference.
That's crazy, man. So you're saying this whole process of converting physical assets to virtual assets takes a day now, which used to take so much time earlier, right? And you're accelerating this whole process for us.
And basically not even accelerating, we are making it accessible for everyone. We are increasing the speed as well as making it easy to use. There's no use if the process is difficult to use but fast. We are making it dead easy for everyone to use. Like even like children can use the app and record videos and convert anything to 3D. Yeah, it's very easy. Like we'll be launching the beta version in the next month. So you will see the app then. Right now we are just collaborating with multiple startups using our backend that is being developed right now.
Okay. So, and you just mentioned about technologies like Unity, right, where you're developing. Can you talk a little bit more about the tech bit over here as to what is going into the tech bit?
Okay. So Unity is basically used by 3D artists right now. It is a 3D development software where they can build scenarios, they can build 3D models. Okay. So that is the tool that is being used right now. So we are bypassing that tool, and we use ray tracing and photogrammetry and neural rendering. These three technologies are used in it. So basically what neural rendering does is that it takes all the photos that are there in the video, and it estimates where each ray is going in that video. So basically here is an object, and you take a video of the object, and the rays are traced in every photo. And जहाँ पे वो रेस का सबसे ज़्यादा concentration होता है, there the object is considered कि here is the object and this is the shape and this is the texture of it, and this is done within a very short span of time, like 5 minutes or less than that.
Wow.
So yeah, and like it takes you to convert an entire building about 15 minutes.
That's crazy, man. So this neural thing you talked about, this is, I think, part of deep learning, is it? Which you do? Okay.
Yeah, it is a part of deep learning, and it is a relatively new concept. It has been in research since last 6 years, I guess, but the research on it has accelerated in recent years. Even Google is incorporating neural rendering in Google Maps actually. They from next year onwards. So they will be doing fly-through tours of hotels using existing photos that they have. Wow. They have loads of photos of every place. They can easily do it. So like they are using neural rendering to create a drone-like video of any place. So it is very cool. It is actually very cool.
So just tell me one thing, yeah. Being an entrepreneur, right, and working on something like deep learning, which is complicated, right? So, if, for example, a layman wants to, learn more about this deep learning thing and implement it further, right? How complicated is it for anybody to understand deep learning? Because it's a new thing, it's coming up, and probably you have experienced it firsthand. So what has been your experience in terms of implementation of deep learning or understanding deep learning?
So you have to take it step by step. I started when I was in college, I think second year. Started with online tutorials, doing small projects, and it started from there actually. I started from very basic topics that are involved in deep learning, and it grew from over there, doing project by project. So it takes anywhere from, like, if you do it properly, you can be good at it within an year. So it's not all that complicated. There are loads of free resources online that you can have. A lot of free courses. You don't even have to go to Udemy for that. So researchers, like the prominent researchers in deep learning, are like releasing their own free courses that you can have, and like you just have to take it step by step, and it is actually quite easy once you get it.
Got it. So I think from what I understand, you're doing so much in terms of creating 3D assets using so sophisticated deep learning technology. What is the metaverse opportunity here? The size you see in terms of business? Yeah. What is it?
Okay, so like assets are the backbone of any metaverse, essentially.
Yeah.
You need assets to build metaverse. That's what the entire thing is based on. So the possibilities here are limitless, to be honest. In every metaverse, 3D asset of some kind will be needed, and a large portion of that is based on real life. Some of it is imaginative, some of it is creative, because you have to involve creative elements. Otherwise, it will be boring.
Yeah.
So that is there. But like industrial areas, the metaverse is based on self-driving cars, like to train self-driving cars, then industries. All of that is based on real life totally. There is no creative aspect in it, because they have to keep it very real. So in all of that, the scope is very huge. Like I told about Nvidia, they have been partnering with Siemens, they have been partnering with a lot of Indian companies as well to convert entire factories to virtual things.
Correct.
Yeah.
And even Instagram is planning to integrate NFTs into their platform. So that will be another big opportunity for creators to work on 3D virtual assets, and probably Metashop may just come in over there.
Yeah, right. Like people can actually, like, it will be like the e-commerce people, the businesses, and small artists even. Actually, we are opening the doors for small Indian artists, small artisans, craft people to gain another revenue source. Actually, they can sell their art pieces as NFTs in the metaverse. We have been educating small artists about it, and they have been like, it takes time for them to understand about it, but once they get it, they are very excited about it. And like, there is a huge potential, especially in India, a country where we have so many talented people who really don't get much platform to showcase themselves. NFTs are a really huge thing for them. Like people can directly convert their sculptures into 3D assets, into NFTs using Metashop, and then sell it on multiple marketplaces, just like that.
Got it. That's interesting, yeah. And tell me one thing, yeah. I have experienced the metaverse through virtual reality, and I've also experienced the metaverse through the computer, which is 2D, right? And over here, what do you think VR and AR, the role they will play in when it comes to the metaverse? Is it really important to have virtual reality headsets and augmented reality to experience metaverse? And going forward, will it be necessary? Because I can see that in a 2D world, it's not as immersive, right? It's only a game, right? So what do you think is the role of AR and VR over here?
Yeah, actually, AR and VR play a very big role. Essentially, they bring metaverse to life. Otherwise, it is just another game. Like you said, it is on a flat screen. It feels like a game. You are controlling it with a keyboard, so it doesn't feel real, all that real.
Yeah.
Otherwise, using AR headset especially, it gets even more real, because you are essentially overlaying the metaverse on top of the real world, which is what we are mainly focusing on.
Correct.
Correct. We are really optimistic about the AR part of the metaverse, because you can create so many interesting experiences using it. It is very exciting to be a part of it. Like in VR, there are cases where only VR can work, but in most cases, for common people, augmented reality is the best way to go as of now, especially from the user accessibility point of view as well, because VR headsets are pretty bulky right now. And they can be used only when you are sitting in some place in a closed environment. You cannot use it anywhere. Otherwise, like AR headsets are transparent. You can see through them. and they are
Yeah.
much less bulky, and probably in a coming few years, like Apple is gonna release their own AR headset. So those kind of products will get it more mainstream, and AR will play a huge role in bringing this mainstream.
On a side note, I think when you mentioned AR, I haven't experienced AR as such. I've just played some games like Pokemon Go, which is a real world implementation of augmented reality, and a few apps even in India. Some fitness apps are doing AI and augmented reality to track your workouts and give you the points and stuff like that. As a side note, when I experienced VR through the Oculus headset, which has been released by Facebook, I can tell you that it's going to be a game changer if it goes to the masses, and people have not really experienced or seen the potential of something like a virtual reality headset or an AR. It is game changing, especially right now. I can only see the entertainment use cases, the gaming use cases, and now even the fitness use cases which are there. It is going to be game changing, and time will tell. I think it's going to take some 2-3 years before headsets become cheaper based on Moore's law and all that, which is going on, right? The hardware becomes cheaper and adoption increases.
It feels actually real.
Yeah, that's the thing. So when your eyes are all covered, right, and you can see the immersive and simulated environment in front of you, that's when you realize the real potential of
especially with the audio input. When you wear that headset, the audio input makes it feel like you are there in that specific environment, which makes all the difference.
And tell me, there are lots of metaverse projects which are going on right now, and some are based on Web3, some are maybe centralized, as you talk about NVIDIA. Can you tell me 3 projects you are most bullish on when it comes to the metaverse?
Okay, 2 actually already I talked about, the Omniverse. Then another one is for self-driving cars, like building a metaverse for self-driving cars so that they can learn in a safe virtual space. That is one interesting aspect, because right now people send like Waymo and everything, they test it out on public roads and it is hazardous. They take precautionary measures, still it is very hazardous. So if you build a metaverse that is completely simulated and same as the real world, with everything that real world and there is in real world, then it will be awesome. Like people are building it right now, multiple companies are building it, including I think Baidu is developing one, then NVIDIA is themselves are developing another metaverse for self-driving cars. NVIDIA is really like the leader in everything right now in that area. Then Tesla is developing, or Waymo is developing on their own. So those metaverses I'm really bullish on for like self-driving cars. Then Omniverse I'm really bullish on because they are essentially replacing physical factories. For R&D purpose, like manufacturing, you obviously need physical factories. Correct. But for R&D, for finding out faults in everything, it is a game changer. You save billions dollars in that for every factory. Like automotive companies spend billions of dollars on R&D every year.
Yes.
And they can save all of that using that. So that's the game changer, particularly because of that. And there is an Indian startup called ZippyFit who are building running metaverse. I have been in touch with them. I'm also bullish about them because it is a really interesting concept. So Sunny, the founder is Sunny, and he's a really nice guy. And like, I love the concept of it.
In fact, I think I haven't seen something like that in a while, which is running and the metaverse coming together, and even the Web3 flavor, which he's trying to add and cater to that kind of audience. I have seen other apps as well, which are, in the fitness space in the Web3 world, like Dustland Runner, which is an audio-based blockchain game. Then there's Step N again, where you need to buy an NFT shoe to, get started with your runs. So on that side note, I think coming from India, Zippy is like the most promising Web3 startup in the fitness space. And it was great having it was great having a conversation with Sunny also, because he has some great ideas over there, and the first principle thinking he used to come up with it. So probably he'll add more tracks, like he has Boston, New York, Mumbai, and then he's going to add
actually
runs.
Like we have been in conversation with them to build multiple tracks and terrains using Metashop because
that's
it directly is involved in it, like models are being used in it directly. So that's another use case for Metashop.
That's awesome, man. And I think we've touched upon the metaverse, we've touched upon virtual reality and augmented reality, and we've also touched upon Web3. Now I wanted to understand the entrepreneurial side of the things which you've been doing, right? So let's talk
Yeah.
about the journey of Metashop and how did you go about starting Metashop and progressing on that journey.
Okay, so there have been projects before Metashop, which have been very crucial for us to reach at this level. So we started our me and my co-founder Sophia are behind Metashop, and we started our journey in final year of college. We found our first startup called Superset Labs while we were in college for final year, and that was basically a deep learning based startup in which we built softwares for toll plazas basically. Like we used to categorize vehicles that are coming in the plaza because they have to verify that how much rate has to be deducted for
Okay.
them depending on the class of vehicle. So that was our first startup, and later on during COVID it kind of faded out because of many restrictions that government put on us. Like we couldn't take new projects because the toll plazas were shut down. So
Yeah.
all of that just led to the slow death of Superset Labs. And last year what happened, we were buying a sofa at my home, and I was like not sure how it will look at my home. I was buying it online. So that's when the idea of Metashop struck us. Okay, AR can be used over here, but why is it not being used right now? AR is kinda an old concept. It has been since like 2000s, I guess, early 2000s,
Right.
but it is still not mainstream. So what's behind that thing? So we find
Hmm.
out that building actual AR models is very difficult for people. Like the
Hmm.
technology is very old, but building the assets is very difficult. It takes months to
Got
convert
it.
inventories to 3D. So that's when we started with Metashop. So we started at around Jan 2022. We
Okay.
built our first MVP in the first 3 months. We did a
Hmm.
few pilot projects with furniture chains and a few startups. And we just raised our seed funding last month. And
Awesome,
we are
man.
just getting started now.
So tell me, yaar, since you are into entrepreneurship for a while now, what is
Yeah.
the hard part about entrepreneurship that you think is people don't
Yeah.
realize because since they're not doing it, when you do it, you
Yeah,
realize.
like there are loads of things actually for
Yeah.
that. But the most recent thing, like I told, during COVID, Superset Labs, we had to shut it down.
Hmm.
And like we just graduated from college at that point. And there is always a pressure, okay, this is not working out, like from family, from other friends. And they are like pushing you to join jobs and just give it
Yeah.
up, but you have to stay optimistic. At one point
Hmm.
it was like we had about a month of runway left before we raised our funding, and our advisor said that you will probably take 6 months to raise another round of funding
Yeah.
to keep going.
Oh,
And we had only 1 month of runway left. At that point
crazy.
you are like, okay, we should give up now, but instead of that we always kept on pushing. We have to stay optimistic no matter what. So we
Hmm.
kept pushing and managed to raise the round of funding, which saved us.
That's
And
awesome.
also, like there are times when you are thinking ki this is getting too difficult, and
Hmm.
you just have to, like, what people do in, especially while in college, they start with entrepreneurship because it seems like it's very cool to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the biggest mistake that people do, because it takes a lot of vision, it takes purpose to do entrepreneurship. Otherwise you will just give up. It's very
Hmm.
difficult to continue with it. Most people continue it for a year, for a couple of years, but then they are like, okay, money is not coming, why am I doing it? And then they shut it down. So
Yes.
yeah, so they are not focused on their own vision, they don't have a vision. So first of all, especially if you are a student, you just have to know what you actually love doing. Like I love doing deep learning stuff, I love
Hmm.
computer vision, I love augmented reality,
Yeah.
and that's why I keep on doing it year on year, no matter
Hmm.
what. So first of all, you have to find what you actually love doing,
Yeah.
and secondly, you need to have a vision in it. Okay, I have to
Hmm.
do this, and I, no matter what, have to complete it. That's the main thing.
And
Otherwise
tell me.
most people just give
Hmm.
it up. Yeah.
And tell me, yaar, when you don't see the results, right? When you put in so
Yeah.
much effort, when you don't see the results, how do you overcome that stress? How do you overcome that? Say probably it's near to failure, and how do you overcome that situation in your head, majorly, not in
Yeah.
real life, yeah, in your head.
Yeah, so like I said, you have to be optimistic, and the one of the main driving forces that is behind any entrepreneur is their vision, their
Hmm.
end goal. So the end goal is the one that keeps you driving, because we too as co-founders need to continue no matter what. And in entrepreneurship, you are going to get rejections.
Yeah.
Like before raising funds, we constantly failed for 3 years. We were rejected more than 70 times actually, and at the end we succeeded.
Right.
So
Right.
like you are gonna face loads of rejections, and that's the norm actually now.
Hmm.
And to get over it, you need to have a definite purpose in your head. Ki, this is
Yes.
my life purpose. You need to have a life purpose. If you have it, then no one can stop it from achieving it.
And that's what exactly what Sunny said when I had this conversation. That I asked him what is the relationship between fitness and entrepreneurship. And he said that it's all about the mindset. That fitness in
Yeah,
fitness, you just have to keep going, keep pushing, keep doing those exercises until you see the
yeah,
results. Same holds true for entrepreneurship. Just keep going and keep building that mental muscle, and believe in
yeah,
your idea, believe in your energy, and the
yeah.
universe will come together in mysterious ways to make it happen for you.
Exactly. It's really mysterious, to be honest. Sometimes things
Yeah.
pop up out of nowhere. That has been happening with us all over these years. And you try, it doesn't happen. And sometime one day something happens suddenly, and it's all good now. So that's how it really usually happens over here. And like you also need loads of support from your home as well. Like people, the parents should also support their children in
Hmm.
entrepreneurship. I am very fortunate to have such parents, and as
Yeah.
well as my co-founder, because like if the parents give up on you, then there's no way you can continue, because in your back of the mind you know that okay, you have someone who is supporting you no matter what. So
Hmm.
even especially like parents, while their kids are in college and they want to do different things, they want to explore, they should allow them,
Hmm.
because that's
Got
how
it.
they will grow.
Yeah. I think that support is very important. And also the fact that I have, you know, had this conversation with a lot of entrepreneurs. Is it important to have a co-founder, since you can be a solo founder as well, just like Sunny is? And but on the
Yeah.
side note, is it cool to have a co-founder? Is it good to have a co-founder with you?
Actually, it depends on the person. A few people are able to work it out everything on their own, so they don't need a co-founder. But there are cases like me. So I am very strong with technical stuff, but
Yeah.
I am not very good at management. So my co-founder
Hmm.
fills in that
Yeah.
area. So we need people, we need a team where each one complements one another. And
Hmm.
if a person can do it all on its own, on his own or on her own, then there is no need to have co-founder. But it is always good to have, because then the load is like kind of distributed. You don't
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
the entire thing on your head, and it is good to have, because see, no one can really understand what you are going through.
Exactly.
Like in entrepreneurship, people, like even your parents, they see that you are struggling, but they
Yeah.
don't know what you are going through.
Yeah.
Only your co-founder knows. So you need
Yes.
to have someone to talk to. That's the most important thing that I have realized, that we can talk with each other, we can understand each other, and we
Yeah.
can go ahead as one. That's the one of the main reasons that I feel that we should always have a co-founder,
Hmm.
but it's not a necessity.
Yeah. So tell me, for folks who are listening to this episode over here, can you tell me? So before asking this question, I'll tell you one thing I listened to. So
Hmm.
I follow this guy called Gary Tan on YouTube. He's a Y
Yeah,
Combinator. He was a Y Combinator partner, but now he has his own firm and stuff, and he is an
yeah,
entrepreneur. So he said that when you are working on a startup and creating your own thing, you can't just
hmm.
be a manager. You have to do your own stuff, and you have to do
Yeah,
almost everything from design to writing the code to
yeah.
sales to marketing and everything, right? So in all this, from your experience, what are the 3 or 4 skills that every aspiring entrepreneur should have or should start cultivating at the very beginning?
So yeah, one of the very important skills that we learned the hard way is that you need to be a good marketer first of all.
Mm.
Because the thing is, me and my co-founder are very good at tech, but
Yeah.
we are not very good marketing. So we built our softwares, but we couldn't market it well, and it didn't reach people all that well. So first of all, you need to be a good marketer. Secondly, you need to be good at tech stuff. If you are doing a tech startup, and like if you are not good at tech stuff, then at least get a co-founder who is good at tech stuff.
Yeah.
So at least one co-founder should be good at tech, one should be good at marketing. So these are the two basic things that everyone really needs. And like third one is like the product management part of it. Okay, what's the vision of the product? That is kind of less important because the tech person can usually build the vision as well. So according to me, these two things are very important: marketing and tech.
Right. And to add to that, how about selling? Because if you can sell and if you can create, I think you become unstoppable. Something like that I've read.
Yeah, exactly. So like in the marketing part, actually, I meant selling as well. So the selling and marketing and the like distribution and everything. So you need to be able to sell the product. That's what I meant actually, and marketing it.
Got it. And now coming to Metashop, because since you guys are building in a big way and you guys are also looking for talent, what kind of talent are you looking out for?
So right now we are looking for mobile app developers and a deep learning engineer as well. So on the iOS and Android side, and on the deep learning side, especially someone who is in know with neural rendering and photogrammetry, those techniques. So we are looking for talented people who would like to join us on the journey.
That's awesome, man. Okay, cool, man. I think on that note, I'll end the episode. Thank you so much for joining in, Mukul. And that was a really insightful podcast because we talked about something very different, which we don't really, touch upon, which is 3D rendering and 3D modeling in the metaverse, which is essentially the infrastructure for the metaverse, right? And without that, we won't have any metaverses and virtual worlds and augmented reality.
Exactly, yeah.
So you're doing some great stuff out there, and I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you more often. And let's talk more about metaverse and 3D worlds.
Thanks a lot, Divyansh. It was awesome talking with you.
Same here.
Like according like in the Web3 stuff as well, but for our journey, like mentioning the journey what we went through, all that part is really important for every aspiring entrepreneur right now. So
100%.
It was awesome talking with you.
Sure, man. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.